slide it out of the way a little bit. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for coming out. This is our fourth in our series of Parent Academies, so I know that I've seen many familiar faces who have been coming all year, and some new faces, so thank you for joining us. Our fifth and final past meeting for the year is the first Wednesday in May, and that's going to be, it's really geared to kindergarten through fifth grade, to go over our new report card that you, if you have a kindergarten through fifth grader, you've seen a new report card, but as the grading is shifting, parents have asked questions, and we have been planning to have this, well, since the beginning of the year, we planned at the end of the year, we'd be revisiting that. So if you are of an interest, that will be that last Wednesday of May, and then we'll pick up again in the fall and start with Park Year, or Core Year 2 and Park Year 2. And any other suggestions that you have, topics that you would like to have for our Parent Academies, please email me or let me know, and we can definitely plan on having some of those topics. The breakouts are going to be a little different tonight because we're at a point I really do need some input. Because our focus tonight is our enrichment and our gifted and talented programs that we, not so much, I'm going to tell you what we currently offer, but what we're really looking at is revising two things. Our identification process for the programs that we currently have, and also offering new programs for next year. And what I really need to do during our breakouts is hear from you what it is that you are looking for your children, because that's going to really drive what we're offering next year. I will tell you some of the items that we are proposing that we're offering next year, some new courses in the middle school, an additional high school course in the middle school we're going to be looking at, and some additional things in the elementaries for all grade levels, kindergarten through fifth. So that would be a time for really giving me your input, because it will make a difference. That's going to drive what we're doing as far as identification and programming. I'm going to start in giving you, tonight, and just giving you an overview of what enrichment is, what gifted and talented is, and what kind of programs that we offer here currently. And that will lead you into what we might want to do differently for next year. So our goal for Denville Township is always to provide differentiated instruction to meet the needs of all learners, and that includes students that have disabilities in certain areas, as well as students who have gifts in certain areas, students that excel in math, students that excel in music. We try to meet all of those needs for all students. To do that, we really need to differentiate. And we differentiate in many ways in the district. We differentiate in our classrooms in the elementary by offering Readers and Writers Workshop. Readers and Writers Workshop tailor the curriculum to your students' reading level and their writing level. So we do not pull out for our language arts program in the elementary, because whatever reading level your child is at, that's the book that they're reading. We don't have like a third grade text and they only read third grade text. If they're reading beyond third grade, then they're going to be reading whatever reading level they're at, and that's the instruction they're receiving will be at that level. The same is for writing. The writing is individualized, so they all might be writing the same types of pieces, like an informative piece or a narrative piece. The level to which they are writing is going to vary based on their skills, and the teacher conferences them on a daily basis individually. So they actually tailor, okay, this is what this student needs, teaches in that lesson. If 3 or 4 students have the same skill deficiency, they'll pull them and say, you all need to work on inferring character traits, and they'll all work, those 3 or 4 students will work on that. Some lessons, of course, are for the whole class, but it is differentiated, so we can really meet their needs, kindergarten through 5th grade, pretty easily within the classroom. The writing prompts that we give are benchmarks throughout the year. We do a research simulation task, an informative piece, which is a literary essay, and a narrative piece. So again, we score them, and they can be scored based on their level as a kindergartner or their level as a 5th grader. I mean, they really can be scored based on the writing piece and the way that they're writing as a writer, as opposed to them as a 3rd grader. I mean, we look at them beyond, so we just say, where are they at as a writer, to what level? Our math program, in the middle school, we have a variety of different course offerings and pathways that students can take based on their level of math expertise. In the elementary school, we do a beginning of the year assessment, and we do have students at multiple levels that have moved to the next grade level. So we might have a 4th grader who's taking 5th grade math. And they still do that at the elementary school, but they will either go into a 5th grade class, if the schedule allows, and we also have a student who does it independently within the classrooms. The teacher teaches 5th grade math to that student, and 4th grade to the other students. So we work that out, so students have opportunities there. We do have our Expo program, which is a pull-out program starting in 3rd grade through 8th grade. And that is a critical creative thinking course that meets before school and meets one day during the week, during the school day, to do problem-solving projects. And that's really where that is. And we can also differentiate by product, where a teacher might give us an assignment in class and ask them to either present it, through a story, present it through a musical piece, present it through artwork, so we can differentiate by product. And then, of course, our enrichment. Right now, we currently only offer enrichment after school. After school, it's like a pay-to-participate program. And then we talk about the different types of enrichment that we do in the day. But as far as courses, they're only currently offered after school. So what is the difference? It's a long definition. But basically, we're going to talk about those 3 groupings. Because when we talk about our students' needs, the enrichment piece is going beyond their regular curriculum. So beyond what they would learn normally in the day, it might be something on aeronautics, where it's not something that's specifically in the curriculum. However, the skills that you can apply, learn through that type of topic are taught in class, but you're taking it to an interest level that is beyond what we would normally do in the curriculum. That's really what enrichment is about. We do enrichment through field trips, assemblies, independent projects, the science fair, science olympiad, any of those types of things, the arts festival, anything that can kind of take what we're regularly doing and expanding it beyond the regular school day would be considered enrichment. And that's for all students. So what are these terms that get thrown around a lot? Gifted and talented, we hear this a lot, but what, our interpretations can be many, but I'm going to give you what the actual definitions of academic giftedness are according to our state. So the National Association for Gifted Children, their definition is this: gifted individuals are those who demonstrate outstanding levels of aptitude, defined as exceptional ability to reason and learn. So we're looking at achievement in the top 10% or rare in one or more of the different domains. So not 10% like they get a 90% on a test. It means being in the top 10% of all of the students that fall into that age group, and this is nationally, that they would consider that top 10% to be in that realm. Renzulli, if you're familiar with Renzulli, he's sort of a guru in gifted education, and he has come up with many ways of educating the gifted students. He works out of the University of Connecticut. They run something called a Confractuate, which is a large program in the summer for training teachers on working with gifted students. He and his wife, Sally Reese, who I've had the pleasure of working with, have worked their whole careers on looking at gifted education. And their definition is this: it's slightly different, because they're talking about gifted behavior, that someone may have the aptitude, but if they don't exhibit the behaviors, then they don't really consider it giftedness, because you have to do something with those skills. So it occurs when there's an interaction of about 3 clusters of human traits: above average or specific ability, high levels of task commitment, so how motivated are they to use that skill, and high levels of creativity. So they look at it as sort of this combination of, yes, you have a natural skill, but are you motivated to use it, and can you bring in the creative piece with it? So that's their definition. For the state of New Jersey, in terms of schools, this is our definition, and this is what we work off of. Exceptionally able students who possess or demonstrate high levels of ability in one or more content areas when compared to their chronological peers in the local district, and that's what's different. Specifically, they're talking about Denville students compared to Denville students, not Denville students compared to Newark students, or Denville students compared to Chatham students or Rockaway students. It's not that. It specifically looks at your population and where they are in your population. And it's their chronological peers. So when they take tests like those cognitive abilities, the COGAT test or group IQ tests, it scores them within a 3-month band of their birth. So you're only compared to students who fall within the same 3 months of your birth. You're not compared to students that we're born in September and you're a June baby or you're an August baby. It doesn't fall like that. It's your 3 months of birth. So it is your chronological, but also just indental, who require modification of their education program if they're to achieve in accordance to their capabilities. So this definition is much more tailored to a school setting, not the other definitions that bring in a lot of the related arts and things that we don't necessarily focus on in a public school. Like we don't have a full music academy in a K-8 district where they'll have their basic music courses and chorus and band and things like that. But if you went to a charter school for music, of course you would have such a variety of things. Or if you went to high school, the high schools have much more choice here. And gifted and talented, so what is the difference between those two? Giftedness is specifically speaking about aptitude, right? The spontaneity, the express natural abilities in at least one ability domain to a degree that places an individual at least among the top 10% of their age peers. Again, it's not that they scored in like a 90 percentile on a test, it's that there's a large number of students who fall into that category, so it usually ends up being the top 98% is in the 9th state 9, and then about 95% is in the 8th state 9 if you're on a bell curve. That's how that falls. So talent designates that superior mastery of developed abilities in at least one field of human activity to the degree that places them in the top. So that tends to be our arts and our sports, those that have this ability and that they train with that ability, and that they're sort of the top 10% of their game. Like their sport, their activity, their musical, their artistry. That's kind of where we differentiate between giftedness and talent. For the most part, although the state calls it a gifted and talented program, in the K-8 school district, we're mostly talking about giftedness, because we're talking about academics, as opposed to the talent piece. There's actually levels of giftedness. There are 5 levels. And it's based on an IQ. You can go to a private neurologist, psychiatrist, psychologist that could test you and do an individual IQ. What we deliver here in Denville and most public schools do is something called a group IQ score, which is the cognitive abilities test that we deliver and administer in 2nd and in 5th grades. That group IQ is different in that every student gets the same questions. An individual IQ, each question determines what the next question will be. If you miss that question, it gets easier, and if you get the question right, it gets harder. So it just keeps leveling until they find an individual level. We don't do that with a group. A group takes all the same questions, they score all the same questions, and then they see how they fare compared to their peers. So you can see here are the 5 levels. That highly capable is that 120 or 130, so if your student has taken the COGAT, kind of gives you an idea. In the light blue numbers tells you about how common that we would see between like 1 out of every 6 to 1 out of every 44 in the general population. We would see that occur. Moderately gifted is about 1 out of every 44, or even as many as 1 out of 1,000, depending on your population. So you can tell that 130, 144, that it's common that we see this in schools. That's mostly our students that are in our Expo program fall into that category. The highly gifted, the 145 and 159, we might have 1 or 2 in a district this size. We don't get a large number just because the occurrence is 1 out of 1,000 to as many as 1 out of 10,000. And then exceptionally gifted goes up, and then profoundly gifted. You can see how that works. So it gets less frequent as you go up in the levels of giftedness. We primarily work with our highly capable to our highly gifted, possibly, range. So why is gifted education important? I can tell you that 23 years in the business, the one area that I have worked in from day one has been in gifted education. Whether I was teaching the courses, or I was writing the curriculum, or I was developing programs, I seem to always be in this area. And I have a real love and passion for this particular area, whether it's enrichment or gifted, talented. I just find that kids gravitate to the types of activities and the types of programs that we can design for them. And what I have found about gifted education, why it is important, is there are times that students really need, and there's a lot of research that shows this, need to be with similar ability peers. And of all of the groupings, we heterogeneously group, in elementary schools, and most public schools do. But there are one population of students who benefit from having some opportunity to work with like ability peers, and that's our gifted population. When they work with their peers, their experiences are very different because they start to feed off of their ideas and the creativity of the students that have similar abilities to that. Doesn't mean they need to be that way all of the time, but we find that especially with, let's say, a math student who's now in an accelerated math class, they can make 2 years growth time in 1 school year. So when given those opportunities and they take them and they have the motivation that we have seen, and research shows it's about 2 years growth in 1 year time. So you can see how that can really be a benefit for offering those programs. For programs like Enrichment or Expo, that benefit is working with those likability peers. The projects that we do, anyone can do. It's where the student takes them. And so it's giving them that opportunity to work with students that seem to take the projects to the same degree that they take it. Because we can give those, there's nothing unique and special about the projects. Anyone can do the projects. It's just how much creativity. It's like the science fair. You come around to the projects and you can see that some kids have real affinity for science and went crazy with their projects, and the thinking that went into it and the experimenting that went into it. If they were working with students who had that same mindset, where they would go would be incredible. And other students can still do the project, it just might not be the same interest level, same place. So strategies that we can use to educate our gifted students. One is enrichment, so that's like our expo type of thing and other enrichment opportunities that we offer in school, like field trips and assemblies and so forth, where you're giving them opportunities to explore their own creativity. It's really about critical thinking and creativity, and it's up to the student where they take it. There's no end expectation of what the project can be. And for the most part, when we design the project, the kids take it totally a different place. And the teacher has to be flexible enough to kind of go where the kids go, because they will go all over the place, and you just kind of have to go where their minds go, and it's pretty incredible. Curriculum compacting is where you do an assessment at the beginning of, let's say, a math unit, and then you figure out which skills the student knows, and you crunch them. And they don't need to spend time on those skills if they've mastered them, and then you spend time on the other concepts that they don't know. So that's what's curriculum crunching, or curriculum compacting. You just kind of say, okay, they don't need this, they need this, they don't need this, so that you're not kind of giving equal weight to the things they already know, because then that tends to become repetitive for them and monotonous, and they kind of lose out that drive, that curiosity to keep moving. The parallel curriculum is where you offer a course that's the same topics, but maybe to a different, maybe using a different textbook or using different leveled readers and so forth. So if we were doing a social studies class this way, they might totally be studying ancient civilization at the same time, but one class is doing it with one text, and the other class is using a more challenging text. So it's the same curriculum, but they're using more challenging materials to do that. Grouping, again, is like likability grouping, where you have an opportunity to work with math students that are at the same level you're at on all ends of the spectrum. Acceleration is where you're actually moving them up, and it's very common in math, that you're moving them up the coursework as they master the skills in one level of math, they're going to the next, and so forth. And then finally, pull out and specialized classes. Pull out would be like an expo program or something like that, where they actually go to the class, or it could be a course that they take. And we don't offer a lot of these because their day is very full. There is not a lot of opportunity to be pulled out, and you have to weigh the benefits from the time away from class, in that class. So what we offer, here's a list of what we currently have. We're going to be talking about things we want to add in our first breakout session. So we have this Expo program, and that's what it stands for: Expanded Program Opportunities. If you didn't know, I had to look that one up when I first got here, because every district has it, and everyone calls it something else. It's Quest over here. It's Gateway's another district. We call it Expo. There's a math acceleration. We do that we have kids from 2nd grade through 8th in math acceleration. We offer high school courses. We offer Algebra 1, and we offer Geometry 1, honors courses. Advanced English Language Arts in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Enrichment through clubs, activities, and competitions. That's, again, so our science Olympiads, any of those types of competitions that kids can go to are fantastic. Students are very competitive, and they do enjoy testing their minds that way. Enrichment through experiences would pretty much be in our school day, like field trips or assemblies, and then after school. And this year, we're going to be looking at expanding some of these programs, both in the summer and in the school year. In your handouts, there was a list of identification. I didn't want to put this up as the two things on the sheet. One of them is for our math pathways for the middle school. You can look at that and see what we currently do and how students can move through the different levels of math in the middle school, because they can get all the way up to geometry, and then they would go to Algebra 1 honors when they get to be a freshman. And so they're really getting out there. We hope that we can move more students to Algebra 1. We have a small group of kids that take geometry, but it is there, and it is an offering that we do have. At the end of 5th grade, there is an assessment. It's about 2/3 of material that they should already strongly know from elementary school, and then there's 1/3 that's kind of pushing up into middle school math, and that's how we sort of determine who goes to Common Core, Advanced Common Core, and to pre-algebra. Just one group of pre-algebra, larger advanced, and Common Core as well. And then we retest again at the end of 6th grade. So students are not locked into these pathways. We test at the end of 6th grade, and every year we have some students, because the Advanced Common Core does the 6th grade math and then ends with a little bit of the pre-algebra. And there are some students who have an affinity for it, and developmentally they weren't there in 5th grade, but now they are. They take that algebra aptitude and they go right into algebra as a 7th grader, and then the geometry as an 8th grader. So there's always an opportunity to move through the pathways, and the opposite is true. If they are struggling in that course, then they will retake a full year of pre-algebra and move into algebra as an 8th grader. So they still can get a high school course in there, even if they were struggling as a 6th grader, move them back into that program. You can kind of see the flows there. The other is what is on our website and is our current expo identification. I have to say that I was not part of designing this, so I'm kind of coming into this with different experiences of identification. So any maybe issues that you may have had in the past, I really can't speak to those, but I know that when I came and I looked at it, there are definitely things that I wanted to revise, because if you look at our identification currently, we really only have one method of entering into our expo program, and that's through testing. And in my past, I've worked with Sally Lisa at University of Connecticut to kind of come up with a different plan. One route that looks at a testing route. Some students can test it right away, and you can see it from the test. Another route that takes into the teacher recommendation and the experiences that they're showing. Because remember, motivation and work habits are a big part of giftedness. You have to be able to use those skills. And sometimes they may not do it in that moment, but they do it all the time. And they're the student that just eats up everything that you give them. But on the day of the assessment, it doesn't come out. So that's another route. And then a third, sort of a safety valve or an alternative route, where if they can either have to test it, they have to show it during the school year, or they have to show it on demand. Like, here's a project, and they do something creative and show their critical thinking and how they work on that. So my experience has been having different pathways, and I hope that you can talk about that a little bit in your group, of what your thoughts are on what you'd like to see for your students, whether they're in the program, not in the program. You would think that your students would really benefit from the program. What would you like to see for that? So for our first breakout, I think we're probably, we're going to break into smaller groups at the tables here. We just break up into some of the tables and have that discussion. And I have 3 questions for each of the groups. So we're just going to break up into probably 4 small discussion groups. And we're going to look at these 3 questions for about 20 minutes. You don't all have to record it, at least somebody at the table kind of record some of your thoughts, but you all can record it if you like. But I specifically want you to look at what you envision for your child, and what do you hope that they gain from participating in our programs, whether it's enrichment or whether it's gift and talented, whatever it is. What are you hoping that they gain from participating? Because that will really guide what we offer. And then what concerns do you have regarding the identification? So some of you're coming in this room with a lot of people that, all different experiences, and I'm not sure what all your experiences, if they're positive or not positive, or, you're wanting more for your kids, and that I'd like to know. So if we could just maybe do these 3 rows, maybe a group, we'll come over to a table, and these last 2 rows, maybe that back table, This first 3 rows can go to the table.
All right, thank you. I appreciate everybody coming out, first of all. It's very nice to see this turnout. Everybody keeps saying, you can't get people to come out, you can't get people to come out, but we have to keep trying. Also, we always post these on YouTube, so if you happen to miss one, if you want to look at it on YouTube, it's on the district website, on the homepage, it says Denville Public Schools Events. There's Denville Public Schools board meetings, so you can watch board meetings on there too, if you're bored. Or if you'd like to find out information about the budget and things like that, it's on there. I wanted to take a couple minutes too, just to explain a few things. One of the things is, one of our district goals for the year was to create a culture of high expectations. That was why we made this thing. Because the last seal for this district was the 501 Open Omni, which has been abandoned for 5 years. And I just couldn't have that on my letterhead. So we put together a contest for the middle school kids to create a seal and a motto. So then we hired a graphic artist to take their ideas. We took this one student, actually won both, the motto and the logo. So she created something I thought was very interesting. It didn't look exactly like this, but she came up with the educated power excel. We really liked the 3 words, and then the artist took her ideas and made this seal that we're very proud of. I think it's a little bit, it creates a little higher expectation than an abandoned building, so that's what we're looking for. So, another thing, we are, this summer, going to offer an enrichment program through the Board of Ed. It is self-funded, meaning the parents have to pay for it, but there's no profit involved, so it's just whatever it is to get this thing running off the ground. We have some really great programs in here, things that you've been asking for. One of the things we have is a coding gaming class. So you can, and this is a hybrid class. Your child can do the coding gaming class even if you're on vacation. It only meets 4 times in real face-to-face. The rest of the time is online. So we just happen to have a teacher who wrote a book on this is actually doing a world tour on this particular subject, and he is teaching the class. So you have an opportunity to take advantage of something like this. And our fee is, I'll tell you the fee on that one. That's $100. And it's a 20-hour class for $100. So it's a pretty reasonable deal considering the person you have teaching it. I'm not trying to sell this to you too. You can read it. It's just, I wanted to get this thing off the ground. I felt like these are some important things that we could do here. We have another thing from a guy who works for NASA this summer. It's an engineering program. It's called Design Challenge Series. And there's 6 weekly challenges. Each one is $50 plus about $10 of materials that you buy on your own. He gives the kids the challenges. They go out and they make the design, they build whatever it is that he has to do, and they don't meet it all. So this is a great one if you have a busy summer and your child can't go there, can't go to the school, or you're planning a vacation, you're thinking this would be another opportunity for them to do something that they could do online. So they're going to build it, they're going to video it, and then they're going to send him the video. It's a pretty cool idea to get this thing off the ground. Then we have theater too. We're going to have a musical this summer in Riverview. This is a little bit more expensive, but it's a lot more involved. This is $295, but it meets something like 20 times. And it's going to be a musical. Being here, we'll have a stage. You have to buy the rights to the musical. So there's some expenses to that. We have some ceramics classes. We have fun things like summer sports and games. And we have Greek mythology and a math facts class. So we're trying to hit everything. I'm going to leave these there. I appreciate if you take it. It's in the Friday folder on the 27th. It'll be in the Friday folder all the way until May 1st. There's a new Friday folder coming out on May 1st, by the way, with Constant Contact. It won't look anything like the one you had before. It'll be totally different with my picture on it, probably a couple other things. And it looks so much different. And there's advertisements on it too. We have the New York Yankees, the New York Giants. We're trying to bring in revenue from other sources. So we actually signed on with the Giants and the Yankees. So we have those two. We have an advertisement for this. So we're going to try to raise the bar, like we said, raise the expectations. The next one of these is May 6th at 6:30. It's on student proficiencies and standards-based report cards. And we appreciate everybody coming. It really is nice to see everybody being interested in what's going on here. And again, check out YouTube if you forget something. I got to pick up my son at baseball station. He's up there catching for the pitching lessons today. So I got to run up to Wharton real quick. Dr. Cull's going to take it home. I'll leave these over here for you. And I appreciate again that you guys are all coming out. Thank you.
I appreciate all your discussions, and so I do want to collect those, anybody who is recording, to keep those in mind as we're planning. We've been thinking throughout the year as well of what things we can change and offer, and I'll just tell you a few things that we're proposing for next year, and then that may spark some ideas in your head of something that you might think would be good. One thing is that we are going to be offering in 8th grade honors biology for 8th graders, and it will be an application process. I mean, there will be some standards that they would have to meet, but any student could apply to try to meet those criteria. It is a high school course. The reason we're trying to offer this, and we've been totally planning collectively with the high school district, because some of our students are going to the Math and Science Magnet or the Folk Tech program, and they're doubling and tripling up on their classes as freshmen. So we know that there are students who are really interested in science and in biology, and it is honors biology, and then as freshmen, we have all the mapped routes that they would take, whether it's moving into chemistry or moving into AP biology as a freshman. But there are students, it won't be large numbers, but there are students, so we're trying to offer more courses that way. In addition, we are completely redoing the schedule in the elementaries and moving to a 5-day schedule instead of the 6. And with that, we're expanding the, I know, I can't keep up. I call over and they're like, I'm like, what period is it? And they're like, it's this period on a B day, it's a 6th day. I'm like, I don't know what that means. So where am I supposed to be for my meeting? Tell me where to go. But I know it is confusing, but we've been able to move it to 5 days, but shorten the period slightly, but expand how many periods we have in a day. And with that, we've actually gained academic time, because a lot of we've crunched other places, but we were able to put in more language arts, more math, and more things, and in that schedule, allow for 1 period a week of something called mastery enrichment for all. So there would be 1 period a week that we would be able to offer courses, so all the teachers would sort of create and make up a course, and then kids could sign up for what they want to do, and maybe the art teacher's running a course, and maybe it's something in PE, and try to hit some of those talents and real interests. Maybe the science teacher is doing something. It would be a place that we could run that expo program, but in addition to students who go out for expo, that all students would be able to participate in some enrichment things. That's a couple of ideas that we have right now. We're expanding the enrichment for the summer. Trying to expand some of the programs we offer after school, but we're open to ideas of how we could do this. All the things that I put in my presentation about compacting and parallel, we're working on those within the classroom, because many of those things should be able to, in 2015, there are instructional strategies that meet the needs of all students, and we need to make sure that we're utilizing those. And from some of the conversations, it sounds like in some cases they're not being fully utilized. Some gave some good examples of how they are being utilized, but I want to make sure that they are, because they're out there. Those strategies, we can use technology in amazing ways now, and it is work, there's no doubt, it is work, but we have talented teachers and they're up to the challenge, and they too love your children and want to meet the needs of the children. Sometimes it's just some additional instruction on how to do that. And I am very happy that you came out. I hope that you're interested in the report card and standards-based grading. Remember that 3rd grade had no grades this year. 4th graders current 3rd graders will not have grades as 4th graders, as we're moving out of that grading system in elementary school and leaving the traditional grades to middle school and high school. If you're interested in that, come on at the May Day. And if you have any individual questions, I know I didn't get to that back group. If you want to talk to me, I'm here. Thank you. Grab some cookies, because my family's getting too fat eating all the cookies at the end of these meetings.